This is a public meeting of the Indiana Arts Commission Region 12 Arts Project Support Fiscal Year 2021 Grants Panel. I am Ruth Ann Cowling, Art Commissioner for the state of Indiana. Today is April 21st, 2020, and we are meeting virtually by Zoom. We welcome applicants who may be listening in today and would like to remind you that you are muted for this review. There is no direct contact or conversation about the evaluation and disposition of applications either before, during, or after the panel meeting. This meeting is being recorded. At this time, I would like the panelists and staff to introduce themselves, stating their name, occupation, and where you are from in the state. I'd like to start with Rita, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rita Height. I live in Lanesville, Indiana. I am a retired teacher. I taught English, theater, and special education. I am now a freelance artist. I act, direct, and choreograph, and I'm a Disney teaching artist and a past grant recipient.
Thank you, Rita. Our next panelist, Darla.
In Madison, Indiana, and I'm a retired music professor from East Central University in Ada, Oklahoma, but now I'm teaching at Ivy Tech on the Madison campus. And I also have a piano studio, and I'm the president of Madison Performing Arts Foundation. So I'm glad to be here.
Thanks, Darla. Next, we'll introduce Kirk.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kirk Randolph. I'm the director of the Ogle Center at Indiana University Southeast in New Albany, and I'm also honored to be here today.
Thank you, Kirk. Kevin.
I live in Floyd's Knobs, Indiana, and I taught at New Albany High School for 17 years and just retired last year. I'm currently teaching a class through the LVA, Intro to Photography. That's the Louisville Visual Art Association, and it's Academy Children's Fine Art classes.
Thanks, Kevin. Jane.
Hi, my name is Jane Stormer. I am based in Hanover, Indiana. I am a visual artist, focusing mostly in photography and printmaking.
Thank you. And Elsa.
Hi, my name is Elsa Conboy. I am the grant coordinator for Region 12. I work at Hanover College, and Hanover College is the Region 12 arts partner with the Indiana Arts Commission. So welcome.
And Paige, please.
Hello, everybody. I am Paige Sharp. I am the Deputy Director of Programs with the Indiana Arts Commission.
Thank you, Paige. And we have some IT support from Ashley today.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Okay. And as I was introduced, I'm Ruth Ann Cowling, Art Commissioner from Jeffersonville, Indiana, and a retired art teacher. Now we'll begin the panel review. This is how it's going to work. I will announce the application, we will review, and ask the first reader to begin the discussion. The first reader will provide their assessment of the application based upon the evaluation criteria and their perspective. Panelists, please note that the applications do not need to be recapped since everyone has read it. Just provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I will ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or opposing comments. We are not looking for consensus, just a full evaluation from the different perspectives that you as panelists bring to the table. After the second reader has finished, I will open the floor for discussion for final comments. Remember, in the interest of time, that we're only looking for new, additional, or opposing comments. If a panelist has a conflict of interest, that panelist will be placed on hold while the application is reviewed. However, I don't think there's any conflicts in this particular panel. Finally, once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, you will be asked to update your scores in the online system. And it is common for scores to change as a result of the broader discussion that has occurred. These scores will save automatically. Are there any questions? All right. None being noted, we will begin. We will start with application from the City of New Albany, and our first reader will be Darla, please.
Well, as you all have read, the City of New Albany is seeking funding for a mural on one of the city buildings. So my comments were that I am delighted always to see art in a community that's visible all of the time for the community. So I thought the idea was very, very good. I thought the writing of the grant, because I'm not a visual artist, I thought was just a little unclear in a couple of ways. One was that the artist who is going to be used for this, I didn't know much of her background and couldn't tell if she was a local artist or coming in from somewhere. And then I think it's great that children are going to be included in the installation. I just didn't know to what extent. Were they going to paint as well, or are they just going to be around when it's being installed? But anyway, other than that, I think it was a great idea. And I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Darla. Our second reader will be Kirk.
Thought a way they could increase community engagement would be to create some kind of promotion behind tweeting a visitor's picture with the art in the background. Something like pound lift up NA as an example. I thought that would be a good way they could get the word out. They say the project manager is the neighborhood initiatives coordinator, but the person was never named in the application.
Yeah.
And I also felt they should include the project evaluation and some kind of an assessment in their project timeline. And those were my comments.
Thank you, Kirk. Are there any new, additional, or opposing comments?
I could contribute a little. As far as murals go, especially in the selecting of an artist and an image, I think it's very important to involve the community in that process because it's going to be permanently installed in the community. So I would have liked to see a little more focus on having the community be involved in selecting what the mural will actually be. Since they're going to be living with it. I didn't see a specific location for the mural noted anywhere, which made it a little hard for me to try to visualize where this would be, what kind of community it would be in, how it would impact that community based on the space. So it would have been really helpful to have that information. And it would have made the sketch that came with the application a little more relevant, I think. One thing that kind of took me off guard about the application was that one of the elements of the painting was a riverboat named the Robert E. Lee. As an artist, I know that you make very specific choices when you're including things in murals, and I think it's a great idea to include such a big part of the history of the city. But that specific boat with that specific name seemed to be a little off-putting and maybe even polarizing because of the ties to history that are not really PC. And to put that into a community that may be diverse could be, you know, off-putting to people in the community. So I would suggest maybe asking the artist to change to a different riverboat. I know there were a few others that were famous, like the Eclipse riverboat was the most grand riverboat that was made in the city, and the Ohio was the first riverboat. But as far as the idea component of everything, I think it's really important to weigh that specific feature of the painting to see if that should be included or not. And that could come back to the community, and if they want it there, that would be their decision, I think.
Or new or opposing comments? And yes.
Just about looking at the drawing, and just initially looking at the drawing, I was a little concerned about the quality of the final product. And then there could have been, my suggestion would be that they should include some work or some murals that the artist had already done as like samples, so you could see what the final work looked like. Because I know that the drawing was just like a rough draft, but it didn't look, it didn't give me an impression of what the final quality was going to be like on the project.
Thank you, Kevin. Additional comments? None being noted, I'll ask you to finalize your scores and update your online comments. Let me know if you're going to need more time. I'm going to move ahead to our next application, which is the Historical Society of Harrison County. Our first reader will be Rita, please.
Hi, well, I really enjoyed this grant and the concept that they presented. They have a full season of well-known artists that they've documented very well. You can read through who they are. I thought that they articulated what they wanted very clearly. They were extremely thorough. They were great examples. The diverse community that will be served is well-defined. Photographs, flyers, posters, and a website would nicely augment the marketing materials that they presented here. It sounds like a wonderful season that they could, I think they need to advertise more and get the word out to other communities, because it's so well thought out, and the people they're bringing are very, very competent, more than competent, quite excellent artists. The Historic Society of Harrison County has submitted a very well-written, organized grant proposal featuring talented artists and a well-planned variety of disciplines and scheduled events. I think they address a lot of different interests. I think they've met their goal, and I thank them for the performance examples of the artists that they selected, because they did include those in their grant. The variety is quite impressive, and the artistic content addresses different tastes and interests that will be well appreciated in the community.
Thank you, Rita. Our second reader will be Jane. Unmute, Jane.
There we go. Okay. Very much agreed with Rita. A few suggestions I had would be maybe to look into some more stakeholders and partners, because it is a very ambitious, absolutely achievable, but very ambitious, and having more stakeholders I think would be really helpful. I think also having some more preliminary polling of the community for future events would be helpful as well. I also think to make sure you have a diverse perspective on history, to think about going beyond colonial history and look back on Native American history to bring some of that in as well. Sometimes that's something we miss when we're looking at history, and we want to make sure it's included and inclusive of involving tribal and organizational leadership, maybe in our communities through tribal leadership. And I think the last thing I had noted was maybe work more with your community to get access to a graphic designer for advertising. I think having multiple flyers from all these different events, which may be taking place at different times and places, would be really helpful in promoting these really excellent events. So definitely try to work with partners to get a graphic designer to work on different flyers to get all the good news out there about these events.
Thank you, Jane. Do we have new additional or opposing comments? None being noted, I ask you to finalize your scores and update your online comments, please. Let me know if you need more time.
I have a question. Are we supposed to be able to see the applications here on Zoom, or I sort of have mine on my phone?
No, you would have to be pulling it up on
Okay,
your phone, or you can, if you only have one screen, you can pull it up on your computer and then minimize the Zoom window so you can see the online application system. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, I just thought maybe it was here and I didn't see it, but I
No.
have it on my phone, so.
I understand. Yep.
All right, we're going to move ahead. Our next application is House of Jane, and our first reader will be Darla, please.
This is a relatively new concert series here in Madison, actually right around the corner from where I live, in a barber shop. So I think it's very, very unique. And the thing that I think is really special about it, and that is really involves the community and is great for the community and the artists involved, is the fact that there are YouTube recordings of each concert. And so I thought that was especially good and unique and great in every way, and I enjoyed viewing those. And I really liked this application. My main comment on this was just cool. I think that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Darla. Our second reader was Kevin.
I agreed with Darla about it really being a very cool project, and that the person who's coordinating it has some connections with a person in Nashville to help set up to make sure that they've got that high quality of artistic talent there to show. Also, and I viewed some of the performances, and the audio and the visual was just excellent. So it was like artistic quality was very, very high. And let's see here. I put that it's obvious that the project's impact can be seen in the Facebook interactions as well. And also they mentioned that there were rebookings of some of the artists. So it helps them to have other performances besides the performances that they have there. And then it boosts the local economy, creates that intimate music, that music setting, draw for music lovers. And then let's see here. The staffing, the group that's putting this together seems like they're professionals in the community, very qualified. There was no mention of community engagement, however, in the activities or actions leading up to and following the project. The timeline gives the basics of the activities, but could be more detailed. And let's see, When I looked at the PDF, the income and expense statement was not well detailed for the House of Jane event. It was through a cultural continuum, and so they had their detailed list, and there was just a profit listed amount for the House of Jane. So that's the only thing I was a little bit, it was questionable.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. Any new, additional, or opposing comments?
I just, as I read through this again, as far as community engagement, I didn't see that they really addressed people with disabilities and how they would best serve them in this venue, or if they had thought about it. That was a question that I had. How can you better include a more diverse, underserved population? For instance, how will you serve patrons with physical disabilities at live performances?
I think that the fact that they have the YouTube recordings answers that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I also had just a bit about that to see if you can make the space ADA compliant, if that's possible. I know if it's a historic building, that's not always possible. But even with the videos, is it possible to have an American Sign Language translator there to sign the lyrics, if there are lyrics to a song, or to have subtitles available for the hearing impaired?
Thank you, ladies. Additional comments, new or opposing? None being noted, please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Let me know if you need more time. Our next application is the Jefferson County Historical Society, and our first reader will be Kirk.
So I had a question for the applicant about how the artists were selected for this project. I said the applicant states that the artists are selected from within the community, but how are they selected? Surveys were given to program participants, but could the survey be included on the constant contact emails that they send out to the community to have a further reach within the community? And then I thought they should include feedback review as part of the timeline process. The attached financial statement showed a loss on the year of about $15,000. And I was wondering if there was a plan in place to reduce expenses or increase revenue for the upcoming year. And those were my comments.
Thank you, Kurt. Our second reader is Darla, please.
I thought I felt the same as Kirk did. I didn't find listed who the teachers would be, who the instructors would be for the fiber workshop series. And I thought when I looked at the website and saw what they did last year, I was more informed from that than I was through the application. So I think it needed to be much more specific, but I think the idea is good. And I think it's nice to have something, it's unique to have something in textiles, and and there are 2 children's classes that are free that I think is a very good idea. And it's part of the Jefferson County Historical Museum. So I think the idea is good, but I just think that the application itself was very vague.
Thank you, Starla. Do we have any new, additional, or opposing comments?
I have a comment.
Sure.
Just that I thanked them for including that their school is fully handicap accessible, because that will help to serve a more diverse population. And then I agree about the free children's classes is a great strategy for the idea. Mhm.
Thank you, Kevin.
Mhm.
Additional comments? None being noted, please update your final scores and your comments online. Let me know if you need more time. Our next application for review is the Ohio River Valley Folk Society, and our first reader will be Jane.
Just wanted to note, I think on the application list, it's called the Kindred Folk Society. Is that correct? Okay. All right. So based on my review, I found that it was really clear how the benefits of the funding were being outlined in this application. I really appreciated that. I think it's really meaningful to elevate the quality of musical performance going on in a community, especially if they're seeing themselves as a kind of a center or kind of starting a center in that area to really bring people in from out of town to elevate the community and to help artists in that area develop more by learning from artists from other areas. I think that the broad audience is good for access and diversity. I really like that they're using Eventbrite as a way to sell tickets, so it's not just first come, first serve at the door, which can be really limiting and create barriers for people, especially if they're coming from far away. I like that they're using local community members to do kind of outreach to find artists. I think they could do more to find other people who are connected in the community, to find more and more diverse artists out there. Online content is always good for removing barriers. And I think they're doing a really great job of also inviting diverse artists to perform. They specifically, I noted Michael Cleveland, who is a blind fiddle player. I thought that was a great get for this program and is really representative of kind of what they're trying to do. And then I think they could do a little more to address a few other things with the online content, kind of like I mentioned in other applications. If you're going to do video, then definitely try to do your best to have either some form of closed captioning or an ASL translator so that everybody has access to experience the music. The form of evaluation they kind of put forward, it's not bad. It's kind of lacking one thing that I found was setting really clear goals. The fact that they can get a lot of data from Eventbrite is really good, but I didn't see anywhere that they're setting specific goals for that data. So in future applications, I think it would be great if we could see some of that data and then maybe see some of your goals as to where you want to be. And that will help us determine, and of course the applicant determine whether or not they're being successful in meeting those goals. Also noting to make sure that the spaces are ADA compliant, the different spaces they're using per performances. And then finally, on the project management side, I really liked that their staff goes to a conference for professional development. I think that's great. It's a great practice to do. And just to be on your toes with all of this, I know that these events are connected to River Roots, and I know that that festivals are having a really hard time right now. So having these kind of one-off performances may be a really great option because they're much easier to adjust and postpone or delay. And then also to put online, have plans available, and maybe update contracts with the artists that you're booking to see if you can do an online performance if a live performance isn't possible. And that's all from me.
Thank you, Jane. Our second reader will be Rita.
Well, I love what Jane said, and I agree with her. I found this a very impressive grant. I thought it was well documented, very well written, and well organized, very informative. Descriptive pictures of the goals and objectives to me were clearly drawn. And although the project described in the Kendrick Folk Art Grant sounds like it will be immensely successful, I agree that a clear way to measure the success was not specifically addressed. I love the idea that they've decided to move forward with this and change, not that so much that I like the name they changed it to, but that they didn't just, once one person resigned, they didn't just drop this project, and they're determined to keep it alive. I think that's a wonderful goal, that they're bringing a high quality of music to the community. And looking at their schedule, the last thing I wrote was that the program events seem to me dynamic and exciting, with a variety of musical tastes and diversity of cultures and educational backgrounds. And hopefully, with the way things are going, some of these artists they can reschedule them.
Thank you, Rita. Are there any new, additional, or opposing comments? Then I will ask you to please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Let me know if you need more time. Our next application is the Lanesville Community School Corporation, and our first reader will be Kevin.
Okay, with the Lanesville School Corporation, they are planning a multidisciplinary project titled Learning with the Arts. And I had put that it sounds like an outstanding arts program to bring to the students and the school community. The artists that will be instructing have demonstrated success with their working with children in their selected medium from what their information that they had in the grant. And that they are presenting multicultural programs in the different programs that they are presenting. It would have been helpful to have some audio clips of the musical artists that are going to be teaching, and photographs of the visual artist works or student works from previous workshops, so that you could be able to judge the artistic quality better, I think. And that would help for it to be solid evidence to show it would be successful. They have clearly defined who they're going to be serving in the diverse arts program. The students and the school learning community are going to be greatly enhanced with their program. And there was little explanation of what went into the development and planning of the program, other than it was planned by the art department. So for future grants, perhaps it would be more informative to know how the art department came to their planning and their conclusions about what they thought was best going to benefit the school and the community. And then also, I find it a little confusing that they had listed that the number of children participating was 2,988, with the total student population being 726. And I know in the instructions it says that students are only supposed to be counted one time. I was just wondering where the rest of that was 2,262 students were coming from. So there wasn't like an explanation. Is it going to be families that are going to be attending with additional children? So that was a little unclear. And let's see. And then it's evident that they're also getting community support when you look at their budget. There's other organizations or fundraising that they're doing. So it really looked like they're really working hard to try to bring in additional funds to help them produce a very nice program.
Thank you, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Our second reader will be Jane.
Very much agree with all of that. I thought this was a really strong application, and some of the few suggestions I had were just to add a little more information about accessibility for visual, auditory, or mobility impaired students, and what that would look like and what the plan is for those students in maybe each of these workshops, because they are very diverse, which is something I love. I thought it would be a good idea if the school could work into their plan a little more about sharing this information with the public, to make sure that there's press releases that are going out to get a little news coverage. I think that that would be really great for the school and the community, but also for the artists involved. And I think they mentioned Arts for Learning Indiana as one of the ways that they found some of the artists and the different workshops. And I looked into that a little more. I Googled them, and I thought that was a really great route to go, and would encourage other grant applicants from schools to look into that program as well, because it seems like they did a really good job of diversifying the offerings in this particular case.
Thank you, Jane. Are there new, additional, or opposing comments? Then I'll ask you to please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Let me know if you need more time. I'm wondering, we're a little over halfway here. Is anyone going to need a break for about 5 minutes? Speak up, or otherwise we'll move right ahead. Okay. We will move on then to our North Harrison band boosters, and our first reader will be Darla.
This school's band boosters is trying to obviously reorganize their music department that evidently fell by the wayside, and there's as you know, it's in support of a percussion and color guard for the winter program. I think the idea is good, except that my problem with the timeline was that it wasn't specific enough, and then their budget it said that it was supposed to help pay instructors, but it wasn't itemized, so I don't know how much money is going to who and who all is going to be paid there. And then also there was cash expense of $2,000 for performance design, and it just says music and visual, and so I didn't know what that that wasn't clear as to what that was. And then, as I said, the timeline isn't specific. So I didn't know if the band directors here are paid. Or is this money in addition to their salaries or what? So, and then I know all students are, it would be all inclusive in that anyone who wanted to could probably be in the program, although it looked like it was quite a small group on their YouTube clip. So I think it's worthy of support, but I think that the application wasn't very clear.
Thank you, Darla. Our second reader will be Kirk.
Yes, and I thought they should list examples of how this percussion and color guard program has helped in the rebuilding of the overall band program. Have more students join the band program as a result of this specific project. Then when talking about community engagement, the applicant states that the project directly serves the students at North Harrison Community Schools, but the numbers that they reported for attendance included all of those color guard and percussion events. And then the other question I had, the applicant states that a goal of the percussion and color guard project is to rebuild the band program. How is the program reaching out to students and parents in the community to help grow the program? So I thought that was a little bit weak in their application.
Okay, thank you, Kirk. Are there new, additional, or opposing comments? None being noted, I'll ask you to finalize your scores, update your online comments. Please let me know if you need more time. Our next application for review is the Oak Heritage Conservatory, and our first reader will be Rita, please. Rita.
Hey, so this is Elsa. Rita got kicked off. I've just been talking to her on the phone and she can't get logged in, and she tried calling in with the phone number we gave her and it doesn't seem to be working. So I think we might have to go to the second reader then.
All right.
If Kevin could go ahead. Yeah.
Kick it over to you.
We'll try to get Rita back on.
Okay, we'll let Kevin go ahead.
Okay. This is a project that says, hang on, let me get it up here. Earth Day Every Day, Capturing Our Relationship to Nature in 2020. Project is about photography, and it's about getting the community engaged and taking pictures around their community and having a photography competition. What I thought was, this is in regards to artistic equality, the purpose of the project is very clear, and the applicant has most definitely reflected on past experience to inform the planning for this year, because this is their 8th application for this grant. The process of evaluating photography submissions by one professional artist and 4 community volunteers may affect the quality of the work selected as finalists. I'd made that note, and then I went online and I looked to see, who were the finalists, because they had those posted there from their links, and they were very high quality. So even though they've got only one professional artist there and the 4 community volunteers, it still seemed like that didn't affect the quality of their final choices that they had listed. Your plans to engage the audience with an online art exhibit and a physical one. I made the comment that it would positively create a meaningful and quality experience, visual experience. And let's see, as far as community engagement, sounds like a great project to engage the community and raise awareness of beauty in the farms in the surrounding area. Where it might be lacking is in explaining how you are reaching underserved members of the community. But I'd like to suggest that they might consider a category for special needs participants, where that would be like a separate category as far as for the entries. It might open the door of opportunity for those who might not consider their work eligible. And then also, are there answers to the questions about the community members' views shared back with the community? Or are they just used by the organization to measure the impact? So in their conversation or in their grant, they were talking about how there was this dialogue being created where people were posting things, and I was wanting to know if there was really like an exchange or if it was more one way. And that I wanted to suggest that the viewer comments be posted on the online gallery if they don't already do so, because that wasn't really clear in their application. And then let's see, excellent proposal, I thought. Winning photographs from last year's competitions were very high quality. I thought it was a great project for engaging the public. And it's artistic perspective of the image by each individual artist that makes the lasting statement. And then also I just made the comment that many famous photographers have used photography as a way to raise awareness of conservation, and that's kind of what they're trying to do with their grant.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate your input there. Rita,
Yes.
it appears you're back with us. Would you like to make some comment?
I jumped out of my chair and all my papers got disheveled because I tried to get back on. Let me see if I can find them now that I'm finally back on here. Yes, I just have to go to my notes, I guess. This is the photography. I love the idea. The examples that they gave were just exhilarating, that all these different people would get a chance to submit these pictures. I thought was great. They could include, although they didn't talk about the diverse communities specifically, I certainly think they could easily include them in this project and also people with disabilities. So I really enjoyed reading about this grant. I found it refreshing. It was just so different than many of the other things that we've read and looked at. So I really like the grant. And that's all. Okay. I don't know where those notes went to, so.
Are you finished, Rita?
Huh?
Are you finished?
I am, yes.
Okay, I didn't want to cut you off. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
what
very much.
happened was, I think, I had two screens open, and I'm not sure, maybe that's what got in the way and why I got off.
You're fine.
Okay.
Your comments are what matter. I will ask the other panelists then if there are any new, additional, or opposing comments.
I think I had one more,
Sure.
more of an add-on, because it was mentioned a couple times that, the focus is on environmentalism and it kind of minimizes the artistic scope of it to create access, which I think is good. But I think there's opportunities within this project to promote skill development on the artistic side as well. Whether that's just when you're advertising your photo contest online, have a link to, tips to improve your photography skills or something, some sort of resource on the artistic side that you can share along the way to help people learn about the arts, rather than just go out and take photos and not get a lot of feedback. So I think that's one thing that could really be worked on, but otherwise I thought it was great.
Thank you, Jane. Appreciate that. Additional comments? None being noted, I ask you to finalize your scores and update your online comments, please. Let me know if you need more time. All right, our next application for review is the Scottsburg Band Parent Association, and our first reader will be Rita.
All right, yes, this project is the 2020 Fall Marching Show. And they really outline their mission well, the function of this association, and they give you all the things that they have as their goals. My comments are their goals, their type of leadership, and student participation are clearly stated. And as described in this grant request, student participation, artistic growth, and education are central to the organization of this activity. One of the initial questions in this application was, is this organization a part of school, university, or public entity? And I think they just had a clerical error. They said no, but clearly it is an educational activity. And I also included the Scottsburg program makes every effort to accommodate a diverse community of participants as evident in the following. And I'm just going to quote it because I just thought they did such a good job. Previous year's participants include disabled students, students requiring religious accommodations, minority students, and students with behavioral issues. Students are permitted to participate in the program based on their drive to work hard, their will to succeed, and artistic ability. Every effort is made to find a spot in the program for those who wish to participate. I just thought that was so well stated, and it really addressed some of the goals that the IAC has developed over the years. The method of evaluating the success of this year's program is implied but not defined. Although costs and income for the grant cycle are presented, a yearly budget is not included. And I thought that they would need a yearly budget. I think they have quite a large, they spend quite a lot of money, and the fact that they don't have a yearly budget, I thought bothered me a bit. The applicant stated that they never needed one, a strategy that may need to be reviewed. The Scottsburg Band Project is a wonderful opportunity for students, parents, and community members. An itemized yearly budget would give this project more credibility and distinction. And I am done.
Okay, I think I'm the second lead on this one. I have a lot of ditto to say. I think a great part of this application that is just that it employs a lot of artists, and that shows a lot as to what they're working towards for quality with this application. I agree that they made some really good statements about diversity in their program. But one thing I would really like to see from pretty much most of the applicants is, I'm glad that you're doing this and that everyone's welcome, but how? Give me maybe some details, some statements about how you're accommodating people, what you're doing to recruit diverse students. Because it's one thing to say, yes, we welcome everyone, but I would love to hear some details on how they're doing that. I absolutely believe them. I just want to know more. Because I think that sharing that information is good for everybody when it comes to strategizing. I think it would be good for them to get more deliberate in getting feedback from performances and just in general from their community to make sure that community needs are being met. And I love that they don't have fees for their students. I think that's a really big part of making the program accessible. And however they're operating without a budget, having no fees for students is something that I hope that they can continue to do.
Thank you, Jane. Are there any new, additional, or opposing comments?
Hey everybody, it's Paige. I just want to chime in real quickly. They do have a financial statement. It's on the second page if you look at the document viewer. What they do state is they don't have a balance sheet, which means that they don't necessarily have money in the bank, so to speak. But they do have a relatively small profit and loss statement that they've included on the second page, just for clarity.
Thank you, Paige. Additional comments? Please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Let me know if you need more time. Our next application is the Southwestern Jefferson County Middle and High School, and our first reader is Kirk.
So the goal of this project was to provide all students with a quality music education, and I thought it would be helpful for the applicant to share what some of those activities were that would be available to the students as a result of the Indiana Arts Commission funding. The applicant lists that the students of Southwestern schools and the Hanover Madison communities are the ones who are impacted, but they should consider other communities that were impacted by this project. For example, possibly the Band Boosters parent organization and the community audience at the parades and performances. The project is measured, they stated, by attendance and activity on social media. And I felt like the application would have been stronger if parents and community members were considered as part of their feedback process. The project activities timeline includes all of their performance activities, but again, it's missing feedback and assessment activities. And then the project budget numbers didn't add up correctly and should be adjusted appropriately. The marching band expenses added up to $7,500, not $6,600. And then the project income should be adjusted accordingly. And those are my comments.
Thank you, Kurt. Our second reader is Darla.
I concur with everything that Kirk said. And my first question was that even though the project technically is to support the band, there really isn't a project there. So, and I thought I didn't really get an idea of what funding is going to support. So then I looked carefully at the budget, and when it says marching band, $6,600, what is that? So I questioned that a lot. So I think that it really didn't address a project and what would be funded and how it would work, even though I'm sure that it's a great endeavor. So.
Thank you, Starla. New, additional, or opposing comments? None being noted, I'll ask you to finalize your scores and update your online comments, please. Let me know if you need more time. And our next application is the West Crawford Elementary School, which is in the Crawford Community School Corporation. Our first reader will be Kevin.
Okay, the West Crawford Elementary School's arts program is going to be a multidisciplinary project that they're proposing. They are going to have a fine arts presenter present Education Monthly for the visual arts, and then music they want to have weekly with their K through 5 students. And they're saying that there's going to be other fine arts activities. They're going to be presented throughout the school year, and they want to have field trips to take place as well. And so the IAC money, as well as some matching money coming from parent teacher organizations, local businesses, are going to help fund this for their elementary school. Let's see. On the artistic quality, I thought that it was an awesome project that involves the students and gives back to the community. And I thought it was pretty wonderful that they're bringing this art music experience to nursing homes, because that's part of their plan, and then exhibiting the artwork in the community. It's obvious that your audience will have a meaningful and impactful and authentic artistic experience. However, the quality of the art making might be improved by having participating instructors who are certified art instructors or professionals in the arts, because in their description, they were not. And let's see. And then with their activities that they were doing, that it was great how they were involving the community. And they have an arts awareness team, which evaluates the impact and helps with planning the next year. So I thought that was good that they have a team like that, that it might be good as well to also include students' input in what they're doing too. And then also I couldn't find any photo or audio examples of this project on the school's webpage. And so I would suggest that to make their application stronger, that they would include something like that. And that also they might want to send emails to the parents or letter and to invite them to the events.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And that could be some that they could have attached as marketing materials too, because there wasn't a lot there. And let's see. And then I thought they did a nice job putting it together, and it sounds like they do have community members that are involved in this program as well as providing entertainment and art for the community as well. The project timeline lists activities, but doesn't include the time for the input and the planning. Of course, I saw that on some other grants too, but that could be something that could be included. And it seemed like their income and their expenses were reasonable for what the project that they were proposing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Our second reader is Rita.
I agree with a lot of what Kevin said. I think the general concept is worthy. I love the way they really get out in the community and they engage the students and the members of their community and their artistic endeavors. I noticed that they talked about presenters, but they really didn't talk about teachers or artists. And I think the whole program would be greatly enhanced if they were now to include some professional artists and musicians. And I noticed some organizations that I know are very helpful and anxious to get into the schools, like Stage One, Actors Theater, the Louisville Orchestra, teaching artists from associations such as those. The budget is reasonable. The descriptions of the backgrounds, I just said that would be helpful. And once again, improved marketing and the addition of would also be helpful. I like the idea that Kevin stated about a letter to the parents. So the overall concept is definitely a worthy one, and they have their hearts in the right place.
Thank you, Rita. Do we have any new, additional, or opposing comments? None being noted, please finalize your scores and update your online comments. Let me know if you need more time. This then concludes the Region 12 Arts Project Support Fiscal Year 2021 Grants Panel. Applicants will be notified of the status of their grant following review by the IAC staff and approval by the Commission. Grant funding decisions are final upon approval of the Commission. If you have any questions, please contact Elsa Conboy, Region 12 Grant Coordinator. And we are finished, panel.
Great job, everybody.